There's a great psychologist named Nathaniel Branden, and he had some wonderful books. And he had a questionnaire at one time where people were supposed to respond to the questionnaire. And it shows another love supplies chart, because ours is not the only love supplies chart. And I loved this one because it had 22 questions on it, sort of showing about your home when you were little. And they were lots deeper and more complex than the 6 love supplies I have. Let's just take a look at them. When you were a child, did your parents' manner of behaving and of dealing with you give you the impression that you were living in a world that was rational, predictable, intelligible, or a world that was bewildering, contradictory, incomprehensible, and unknowable? Now there's a love supply, right? How did your parents make you feel when you were little? Did they answer your questions? Did they encourage you to ask and to learn and grow? That's number one. Were you taught by example or TV the importance of learning to think? The importance of developing your mind? The importance of becoming a rational thinking being? Or did your parents provide you with intellectual stimulation? Books, videos that are good, not stupid ones, and convey the idea that use of your mind can be an exciting pleasure and a great power? Or were they airhead Barbies? Someone wrote in here. Watch cartoons. Were you encouraged to feel and think independently, to develop your feeling and critical faculty, or were you taught to be obedient rather than mentally active and questioning? That's the whole idea of, honey, I think you can figure this out for yourself. Let me answer your questions and then see if you can figure out the answer to the question, because you're real bright. That's what I'm saying. No, you just do it. God said and you're supposed to do it. That's the way you get a kid who leaves the church at 15 or 60. Did your parents project that it was more important to conform to what other people believed or to discover for yourself what is true? See how important that is? When your parents wanted you to do something, did they appeal to your understanding and give you reasons for their request? Or did they communicate in effect, do it because I say so? This is the way you raise intelligent, thinking, reasoning kids that feel out the truth for themselves. Did you feel free to express your view openly without fear of punishment or shame? This is a great love supplies chart. Did your parents communicate their disapproval of your thoughts, desires, or behavior by means of humor, teasing, sarcasm? Did your parents treat you with respect? Were your thoughts, needs, and feelings given consideration? Was your dignity as a human being acknowledged when you expressed ideas or opinions? Were they taken seriously? Oh yeah, you would like to make some rabbit skin gloves. I remember my brother wanted to do that. And all that my parents could tell him was how hard it was, how difficult, how crazy. You'll just lose him in a couple of months. Why do you want to do that? To keep him off the streets and out of the bars. Were your likes and dislikes treated seriously? Oh, you can never be a movie star. They're airheads and they're dumb and they have 10 divorces and on and on. No, you'd like to act? Let's take it. Maybe you could finish a few sentences for me. I'd like to be an actor because. Were your desires treated thoughtfully and respectfully? Did you feel, oh, this is a great one, that you were psychologically visible to your parents? What does that mean? You're a person that they see, that it's important, and your thoughts and feelings are very important. Did you feel real to them? Were your dynamics known? Do you know what dynamic is? Like all of us have a positive self and a negative self. How many of you know or could finish this sentence? I like my positive self because she is. Do 5 or 6 of those. That's called visibility. And here's the next one. I don't like my negative because it is 5 or 6 of those. That's called psychologically visible. How many in here know that their negative self used to have a bad temper, was jealous, shy, scared, depressed, angry. Those are styles of your negative. How many do you know about your positive? You know, lots of people can write tons of negatives and no positives because it's not cool. We call it conceited if you like yourself. Conceit means that you blab and you boast and you show off, which is a compensation for negative. Yes.
I heard you mention in the first sentence that you said, I like my positive self because you said the negative I don't like because it.
I love this guy. Why do we say she or he for the positive and it for the negative?
Oh, because it's not true.
It's not a true self. It's a false self, so we call it it. It's a series of temptations. The evil spirits are supposed to hook you on, you sucker. Right? Yeah. She is the student. He is the student in the earth school. The adversity, the temptations, the struggles that come into our lives are the learning devices. You are a student in the earth school of hard knocks. What's the most important? The student or the lessons?
The student.
The student. Well, I just wanted to teach her something, that's why I shamed her. You burned a cathedral to fry an egg. What does that mean? Your beautiful self is a cathedral. She's a child of God with great strength. You burned her up by saying, why don't you ever do anything right? Besides, why do you wear pink with red? And on and on. That's burning the cathedral. Did you ever clean up that pig pen? Guilt, shame in order to get a room clean? You burn a cathedral to fry an egg. What's the egg? The clean room. What's the cathedral? The child. The he, the she, the real self. Never. I remember once I said to one of my little kids, Tony, don't shame your brother. Right in front of everybody. And he said, well, you're shaming me right now. I was. You're right, honey. I'm sorry. Get that? Okay, so think about burning the cathedral to fry an egg. Better to have a dirty room and a kid who loves you than a kid with a clean room that hates you, of course. And far better is to have a kid who loves you and keeps the room clean because you do, and cleanliness is next to godliness. But not obsessive compulsive, right? Did you feel loved and valued by your parents in the sense that you experienced yourself as a source of great pleasure to them? Isn't that something? Remember the story I told you about the little kid in the crib at 3 a.m. at night? Daddy, Daddy! He's smiling. Aren't you happy to see me? I'm a child of God. And I'm going, why don't you go to sleep? It's 3 a.m. What's 3 a.m., Daddy? There's a movie in the church about a little toddler that went down to the busy intersection, and the mother was screaming and yelling and running down the street, don't go to the corner, you'll be killed, Eric, Eric. She went down there and grabbed him. My little kids, I think he was 3 or 4. What's a corner, Mommy? I remember a story where, was it a 7 or 5-year-old boy and girl were playing outside, I think it was by the barn or something, and they were discovering and looking at each other's genitals, their private parts. And the mom saw this going on. She went out there and grabbed the daughter. She was 4 or something and said, I'd rather have you dead than pregnant. At 4, right? What's happening there? The mother is terrified. It's her own fear. She herself had trouble that way when she was 15. She's putting it on the kid. It's crazy what we do sometimes, you see. So here's the criterion. Did you feel valued and loved by your parents? You experience yourself as a source of great pleasure to your mommy and your daddy. And when you read stuff like this, you say, oh my goodness, I wonder how my kids would answer these. Right? Or did you feel that you were simply an object or an indifference. And how many patients have told me, my mom said I was an accident. I was the caboose. They really thought they were done. Did your parents deal with you fairly and justly? Or, like we often have, an older boy beating up his younger sister. And sometimes when you get with that boy alone, you say, Eric, why? What's wrong? Why don't you like Sally? Oh, I don't know. You go like this, I don't know, shrug their shoulders. No reason at all. And then you do empathy. Oh, there's no reason at all. I really think I'm not giving you enough love. Well, Mom, you do like her better than me. She's a girl. You feel that I love her better than you, and that's why you beat her up? Well, that's one reason. Maybe you could help me understand more. What shall I do to show you that I love you just as much? That talk will go a long way to reducing sibling rivalry and physical affection if you can get them to do it. By the way, lots of people say, I love to learn this stuff, but my kids won't believe me. No, hey, I hate the shrink stuff. Mom, it takes 3 months, one study showed, the gap. If you learn this stuff and you truly start doing it, and you become in your real self, it'll be 3 to 4 months before your kids will believe you and believe that this is the new you. Sometimes they'll really get mad that you're going to a psychology class or reading a book or seeing a counselor because they want you to stay the way you are because it's a known, familiar way. Later on, we're going to talk about the psychology of romantic love. We're going to show that a lot of people marry the father they had. I hate it, but I ate it. Or the mother they had. And they wonder, why? I hated this, and yet I married it. A known, familiar way is safer than a new, unknown way. And so, it's really crazy. So, the 4-month gap. Were you praised when you performed well, or merely criticized when you performed badly? Now, that's often something. Well, why don't you tell me I'm good? Why do you always tell me when I'm bad? Well, I don't want you to get the big head. Were your parents willing to admit it when they were wrong? Or was it against their policy to concede that they were wrong? What's that going to teach you? Never be wrong. Was it your parents' practice to punish you or discipline you by physical pain? Watch this. How many people in here have been disciplined by physical pain? Look at these hands. Almost all of us. Now we know that it's not right to do. The old psychology books used to say, spank only for open defiance. Now they say never spank at all if you possibly can avoid it. Do timeouts, do fines. There's a website called Love and Logic. It's a great way, it's a great blend of tenderness and power. Has anyone heard of a new little book my patients start talking about called Baby Wise? You have? Do you like it?
My daughters-in-law use it.
Mm-hmm. It's a blend of tenderness and power. So many of you are asking me questions, what should I do if my kid does? I don't know. But I do know that if you don't know, nothing will help. And if I told you to do something, it wouldn't work. Why? Because it's not coming out of your real self. Best thing for you to do is do this stuff, read the book 10 times, go to the shrink, get in your real self, and you won't have to ask anybody what to do. And it will start to flow, and your kids will love it. Okay. Did your parents project that they believed in your basic goodness, or did they project that they saw you as bad or worthless or evil? Did your parents project that they believed in your intellectual and creative potential, or did they think you were mediocre, stupid, or inadequate? You know, just because a kid has low grades academically doesn't mean they're stupid or inadequate. Remember this. There are 16 known factors of intelligence. Just a minute, hon. Of all the tests that we have, they only measure 3 of these 16 factors. What does that leave? 13 factors of intelligence are unmeasurable by all the fancy tests that we have. If you take a pygmy out of the darkest jungles of Africa and take him to the New York Bronx, he'd probably be dead in 2 weeks. If you take some streetwise crook punk out of the New York Bronx and put him in darkest Africa, he'll be dead in 2 weeks. Now, who's smart and who's dumb? The pygmy? The streetwise New York City? Both of them. They have skills, right? So don't make kids feel dumb because they get bad grades. Did your parents' behavior and manner of dealing produce guilt in you? Did your parents' behavior and manner of dealing with you produce fear in you? Did your parents respect your intellectual, emotional, and physical privacy? You know, I've heard of a lot of people who discipline their children by taking the door off their bedroom. Have you ever heard of that? They have no privacy. They can't get dressed. Physical privacy, emotional privacy, intellectual. You go ahead and think exactly what you want. Yes. Now, I see. You think the church is crazy. Joseph Smith had epileptic seizures. I see. Fine. Go right ahead. I want to honor those feelings. And you, even though what they're saying to you is horrible. I once had a guy come in to see me. He hated shrinks. He thought they were all communists. Of course, I thought he was paranoid, but he started telling me how crazy shrinks are, all the horrible things they do. They just after your money, they're a luxury for the rich. And besides, they're communists. And he went on and on. When he came to the fact that I was Christian, that really blew his mind. And I sit there and do empathy. Yes, you hate shrinks. You didn't want to come. Your wife made you. She's going to divorce you if you don't. No wonder you hate me. Pretty soon he started, you're different than most shrinks. Because of understanding and honoring his feelings. Did your parents project that what a person made of his life and what you specifically made of your life was important? Yes. You design your life. It doesn't design you. You design your brain too. I'll teach you later on. Did your parents project that great things are possible to human beings? And specifically, great things are possible to you? Instead of, you'll just be a humdrum, dumb broad, Did your parents project that life could be exciting, challenging, and rewarding adventure? I have a research here. I'll get it to you later. But it shows that optimists have much more success, much more happiness, fewer divorces, don't go to shrinks. Optimists rather than pessimists. Exciting, challenging, rewarding adventure instead of a dismal drudgery. You're going to starve, you'll never find the right job, better watch out. Is it boredom or the bomb, right? Did your parents encourage in you a fear of the world and a fear of other people, or were you encouraged to face the world with an attitude of relaxation, confidence, and benevolence? Were you encouraged to be open in your expression of emotions and desires? Or did your parents make you fear emotional openness or regard emotions as inappropriate? And you're a sissy if you cry. Get it? Did your parents encourage you in the direction of having a healthy, affirmative attitude toward sex and toward your own body, or a negative attitude? Did your parents' manner of dealing with you tend to develop and strengthen your sense of being male or female, or to frustrate and diminish it? Those are some really great ideas about love supplies. If anyone wants a copy of that, does anyone? Everyone. Oh, Peggy. Bill me. That's a good love supplies chart. I like to see other love supplies charts than just my own. Okay, let's go to the next love supply on your chart. We spent a lot of time on empathy and honoring feelings, and we pointed a lot out about the negative side. Remember, the negative side is designed to have something that looks like the real or the opposite. So if you'll look up at one N, N means negative, fake or inaccurate empathy, and I asked you last night to write in there the phrase, I'm sorry, because lots of people say, I'm sorry, they think it's empathy. It's not because it's your opinion. Empathy is a no-opinion response. Agreeing is not empathy. Now, there's nothing wrong with agreeing. There's nothing wrong with saying, I'm sorry, but it's not empathy. And remember, empathy is not the only love supply here. We're going to teach you to use all of them together. Yes?
I was just going to say, not even appropriate when they say, you're in a conversation with somebody and then they say, well, don't you agree? Is that okay then?
It would.
Then you're past empathy, is that right?
The answer is, it depends. If they say, well, don't you agree? Then you'll say, you're wondering if I agree, or it's important to you how I feel. And if they go right on, they're just dumping garbage. Yeah. But if they say, no, I really need to know, what do you think? Then you say, well, I feel this way, but it's not my turn. You have the talking turn. I want to understand how you feel. Any more questions? Yes?
Well, you asked those questions about how did your parents treat you, and one of the questions was, did your parents teach you to fear emotion and hate it? And I was thinking, would it be an accurate statement to say that many parents teach their children to fear emotion when they praise them for their positive performance because they're focused on the externals?
That's right on, isn't it? Remember last night I says if you have to focus on externals, to buy love, to please one, to stay away from fear and danger, you're going to lose your real self, because your real self is not out there, it's in here. And performances do not equal your worth. Your worth equals your performance. Get that. Birth equals worth. So your performance should celebrate and express the great love you have for being alive, for being Eric, for being on earth, your turn on earth, and then your performance is entirely different. Entirely different. Entirely